जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानंदना जय व्रजजनरञ्जना जय यशोदानंदना जय व्रजजनरञ्जना जय यामुनातिरावनचारि जय कुंज बिहारी जय यामुनातिरावनचारि जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गोपीनाथ राधा गोपीनाथ राधे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमद् अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति विद्यार्थी स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Gauranga Janitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.
So Hare Krishna. So on behalf of Bhakti Center, welcome everyone to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. So we'll be continuing from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, text number 6 onwards. Let's do Mangalacharan first, and thereafter we'll continue. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanaşalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhrishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Nati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Advaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahjana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sham He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Sapta Kanchana
Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari
Shabhanu Sute Devi
Devi Pranamami
Vansha Kalpataru Bhashta Kripa Sindhu Patitanam
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo
Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare
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 Rama Hare Rama
Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashtaprayeshva bhatreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtini Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya
Om Namo
Om Namo Bhagavate
Devaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya
Om
Om
Namo
Namo Bhagavate
Devaya.
Vasudevaya.
So Hare Krishna. We'll continue from this 6 onwards. I'll just try to share my screen. Please bear with me. Hare Krishna. Last week we had good discussions regarding few pertinent points. So we'll continue, and Krishna willing cover those points again during the course of the class, so that those points are re-emphasized. Let's recite this verse. You can repeat after me. Rishaya uchuhu
Rishaya Uchuhu
Tvaya khalu puranani
Tvaya
Kaya Khalu Puranani
Setihasani chanaga
Setihasani
Chanaga
Akhyatanyaphi adhitani
Akhyayatani api
Akhyatanyapyadhitani
Dharmashastrani yamyata
Dharmashastrani Yanyuta
Rishaya uchuhu
Rishaya
Shya
Uchuhu
Uchuhu
Tvaya khalu puranani
Tvaya
Khalu
Puranani
Puranani
Setihasani chanaga
Setihasani
Itihasani
Chanaga
Chanaga
Akhyatanyaphi adhitani
Akhyatanyapyadhitani
Akhyatanyapyadhitani
Dharmashastrani yanyata
Dharmashastrani
Dharmashastrani
Yanyata.
Yanyuta
Word to word. Rishayaha,
Vishayaha
the sages.
The
The
sage
sages
Uchuhu,
Uchuhu
said.
said
said
Tvaya,
Tvaya
by you.
by you
Kalu,
Khalu
Khalu
undoubtedly.
undoubtedly
Puranani,
Puranani,
Puranani
supplements to the Vedas.
supplements to the Vedas,
with illustrative narrations.
With illustrative narrations.
with
Illustrative narrations.
Sa itihasani,
Sa itihasani,
Itihasani
along with histories.
along with the
history.
histories
Cha,
Cha
and
and
anagha,
Anagha,
Anagha
freed from all vices.
freed
freed from all vices.
Akhyatani,
Akhyatani
explained.
explains.
Api,
Api
although.
Although
Adhitani,
Adhitani
well read.
well
well read.
Dharmashastrani,
Dharmashastrani
scriptures giving right directions
Scriptures giving right directions
to progressive life.
for
to progressive life.
Yani,
Yani
all these.
all these
Utta
Utta
said.
said.
Translation by His Loving Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
The sages said, respected Sudha Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. You are well versed in all scriptures famous for religious life and in the Puranas and the histories as well. For you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them. So here now we see setting in the scene. So the first 5 verses is spoken by Vyasadeva, with the first 3 verses we looked at previously are the prelude to Srimad Bhagavatam. And then Vyasadeva sets the scene and taking us to Naimisharanya, where the great sages, having performing 1,000-year sacrifice, have assembled for the good of mankind. And they have placed the respected Sudha Goswami, giving him a seat of esteem, Vyasa Asana. And from this verse onwards, now they've started to address him. Let's see Srila Prabhupada's purport. A Goswami, or the bona fide representative of Sri Vyasadeva, must be free from all vices. 4 major vices of Kali Yuga are illicit connection with women, animal slaughter, intoxication, speculative gambling of all sorts. A Goswami must be free from all these vices before he can dare sit on the Vyasa Asana. No one should be allowed to sit on the Vyasa Asana who is not spotless in character, who is not freed from the above mentioned vices. He not only should be freed from all such vices, but must also be well versed in all the revealed scriptures or in the Vedas. The Puranas are also parts of Vedas, and histories like Mahabharata or Ramayana are also parts of the Vedas. The Acharya or the Goswami must be well acquainted with all these literatures. To hear and explain them is more important than reading them. One can assimilate the knowledge of the revealed scriptures only by hearing and explaining. Hearing is called Shravana and explaining is called Kirtana. The 2 processes of Shravana and Kirtana are of primary importance to progressive spiritual life. Only one who has properly grasped the transcendental knowledge from the right source by submissive hearing can properly explain the subject. Jai Shri Bhaktivedanta purports ki Jai. So we see this is the first verse has been spoken by the sages who are assembled in Naimisharanya. And the leader of the sages, as we'll see later, is Shaunaka Rishi. And they're addressing Sudha Goswami. And the word they use for Sudha Goswami, which is very befitting, is Anagha. Anagha means free from all vices. Agha means sins. So we see that this word is used for Ajamil later on in Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami addresses Ajamil as Aghavan. Aghavan means he is full of sins. There is no sin in the book that Ajamil did not commit. But here, respected Sudha Goswami is addressed as Anagha. So nullifies the negative connotation or the meaning of vices. So he's free from all vices. So I remember one of the ones in the offering I had made to my Guru Maharaj, I had written that a stanza which was little to eat, early to rise, reciting Bhagavatam free from vice. So last week we looked at this also, that eating is very important because last week's verse was regarding waking up early. So if we are able to eat vegally, especially in the evening, then morning we can wake up early and do the spiritual program. And when we do the spiritual program in the morning, that is in the mode of goodness and it's very effective. And as such, these vices of especially Kali Yuga, which Prabhupada mentions in the purport as of 4 kinds. So in Sanskrit, it is called Shuna. Shuna means animal slaughter. And then it's called Panam. Panam means intoxication. And then we have Striya Sangam, association of women induced by lust. And then we have Dutam, gambling, or all kinds of speculative ventures. So these 4 are the vices of Kali Yuga. However, one practices Krishna consciousness under the guidance of an able spiritual master, then he is able to overcome these vices. I remember once His Grace Bhakti Rasayana Swami, Sagar Swami was narrating this pastime of this particular temple in US. At that time, Krishna conscious movement had just started. And one day in the temple, this person came in and he wanted to join the temple. So he expressed to the devotee that I want to join the temple. So in those days, of course, there was no screening process. So anyone and everyone that would come, we would just shave them, give them dhoti, and put them in brahmachari ashram. And so same was done with this particular devotee. And so this particular devotee very seriously started practicing all the processes of Krishna consciousness, waking early in the morning, having bath, in those days cold bath, wearing dhoti, putting fresh tilak on the body, attending Mangala Arti, attending Tulsi Arti, doing Japa session, and then attending Srimad Bhagavatam class. And then after the class, honoring Prashadam, going out for book distribution, coming back in the evening, doing Gaura Arti, having Bath Prashadam, and then reading Bhagavad Gita, and at that time, reading Krishna book. So this continued. However, after some time, after 4 or 5 months, a couple of police officers came in that temple, and they came with a photograph, and they asked the devotee, have you seen this person? We are looking for this person, and this particular person has done some very serious crime. And so please let us know if you have seen him. So the devotee recognized, actually, this is the same new bhakta which had joined about 3-4 months ago, and police are looking for him. However, the devotee told police officer, no, I haven't seen him. And so, so the police officers told, like, when you see him or, come to know, please let us know. And after that, what transpired is that the devotee went to the temple president and told temple president that the police officers have come and they are looking for this particular, our bhakta. So the temple president called that bhakta and asked, what's the deal here? What's happening? Police are looking for you. So that devotee accepted, yes, I had done some really bad, nasty things in my previous life. And I had actually come to temple to seek refuge and hide from the authorities who were looking for me. However, after coming amongst you guys and practicing what you guys are practicing, I, for the first time in my life, realized that this is what actually I was hungry for, and this is what actually I was looking for. So I understand I have done something very wrong in my past, and as a result, I have to suffer the karmic reactions. But I'm ready for that. So the temple president saw that this person seems sincere, is genuine, and is remorseful. So he told him, okay, don't worry, let's go tomorrow to the police station. And so the next day they went to the police station, and the police officer, they met and said, yes, like some couple of police officers had come to the temple looking for this particular person. And actually, he has been with us for 3-4 months. And they both took him to the officer in charge, and they recognized that, oh, yes, it is indeed that person, although he now looks different, shaved head, wearing dhoti, kurta, saffron cloths. So the temple president spoke to the officer in charge that this person has been with us for 3-4 months, but we assure you that he is fully reformed. He is free from all sinful tendencies. So the police officer asked, how can you be assured? So the temple president then gave a description of the Hare Krishna program, which starts with the early morning program. As we mentioned, Mangala Arti, Tulsi Arti, Japa meditation for 1.5 hours, 2 hours, and Srimad Bhagavatam class, honoring vegetarian prasadam, going out for book distribution. And then he said, we follow the 4 regulative principles. So the officer in charge became intrigued. What are these 4 regulative principles? He asked. So the temple president said, no panam, no intoxication, no stri sangam, no association of women induced by lust, no suna, no animal slaughter, no eating of meat, and no dyutam, no gambling. So when the police officer heard this, his jaw just dropped, because even police officers are engaged in these activity. After hard day's work, Americans and Australians like a good cold beer. After hard days of work, they like to go home and engage in sensual activities, or activities which is not activities which is prohibited by the Shastras. And sorry, excuse me, my phone is ringing. I should off it. So activities, which are very sinful, they're all engaged. So no meat eating, his jaw just dropped. No sex, brahmachari life, no sex. His jaw just dropped. How, is it possible? So to the police officer, this was almost very impossible. And the officer in charge expressed that the punishment you have given this person, never in our wildest of imagination we would punish someone in such a harsh way. So to the police officer in charge, this was very harsh. No meat eating, no drinking of beer, no sex, and no gambling. Especially eating of meat and no sex, very harsh. No alcohol, it's a very harsh punishment. So of course in jail, alcohol is not available, but meat is there, and they at least, in a very, restrictive way, they're not able to control the senses or their, the urges of the generals as well. So, he said this is a very harsh punishment. But for the devotee, it wasn't harsh because he was experiencing higher taste. Rasavarjam rasopyasya param drashtva nivartate. So by practice of Krishna consciousness, all these vices which a person is finding very hard to overcome can be overcome. And therefore, it is mentioned here that Sutta Goswami was anaga. He was free from all vice. What is the implication of this? That when one is free from intoxication, then he is able to be austere. Intoxication reduces austerity. So later on in Srimad Bhagavatam, in pastime of Parikshit Maharaj conquering Kali Yuga or Kali Purusha, we see this, that one who is austere is able to give up intoxication or is free from the urges of enjoying intoxication. One who is Saucham, is clean, is able to give up association of lusty desires. Or one who practices celibacy, brahmacharya, and is free from association of women induced by lust, or free from association of men who are lusty. They are able to practice cleanliness or purity to the point. Now, what is the result of hearing persons who are not free from vice? The result is that they won't be able to have much impact in our lives for our improvement, because the potency of purity is not there. So we say purity is the force. So a person who is not free from these vices, that force is not there. It's not potent enough to change our lives, the message of Krishna consciousness. However, a pure devotee of the Lord, although what he speaks and a person with vices speaks as per the authority may seem same message. However, there's vast different. There's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam which comes later on in 4th canto, I think 20th chapter, 25th verse by Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj says, Sauttama shloka mahatmukhachuto bhavat padamboja sudha kanalina smritet punav vismriti tattva vartmani kuyoginam no kim alam vare. He says that the devotees of the Lord, they glorify the Lord by best of selected verses, Uttama Shloka. Ka Uttama Shloka Mahat Mukhachuto. So Mahat means the great devotees, Mukha, from their mouths. Achyuto, the descriptions of the invincible Lord, infallible Lord, Achyuta comes. And these pure devotees, because they are free from vice, they have access to the lotus feet of the Lord. Bhavad Padambuja Sudha Kanalina. And very nicely Prabhupada describes that there is saffron messy particles strewn on the lotus feet of Krishna. Saffron messy particles. So because the devotee has access to the lotus feet of Krishna, when he speaks, he unsettles those saffron messy particles. And through the sound vibration, those saffron messy particles enter the ear of the hearer, and through the ear, going to the heart. And when it enters the heart, amazing thing happens. What is that amazing thing? Smritit punaha vismritit tattva vartmani. That forgetfulness of Krishna that we have forgotten for many lifetimes, that again is removed and remembrance of Krishna is established. Smriti punaha vismriti. Vismriti means forgetfulness. Smriti means remembrance. So that Krishna tattva, the real tattva that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, is again established. Kuyoginam ro vitarati alambare. Therefore, we all who are like kuyogis, we are not devotees. We are trying to be devotees. So our desire, what should be our benediction that we should be asking to the Lord, that we hear from the mouth of the pure devotees of the Lord, so that by that hearing, our heart is changed. And the symptom of that change, as we looked in that story, is that one becomes free from vice. And practice of devotional service, being free from sins, that means that we are actually progressing forward in devotional service. Otherwise, we are just staying in the same place. Still, it is better not to leave the practice of chanting the holy names of the Lord, despite we may have these vices in us, because just by continuing to chant, continuing to associate with devotees, continuing to hear Bhagavatam, a day will come when we will be able to free ourselves of these vices as well. So one should persevere in practice. It's a nice word used in Brahma Samhita. Three things are given. Pramanais, yat sach acharais, yat abhyasar nirantaram. So one should be continuously reading Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam is pramana. Pramana means it's scriptural evidence. And based on the scriptural evidence, one should try their best to follow sad acharais. Sad acharais means behavior. So Bhagavatam is behavior. If Bhagavatam we don't follow properly, then that means our behavior is not proper. There is no difference between Bhagavatam and behavior. Both start with B. Behavior is synonym of Bhagavatam, because Bhagavatam means that one is able to become a top-class Vaishnava. Last week we looked, Paramahamsa. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the Grantha, scripture of the Paramahamsa. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranamamalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsyameta Jnanam Param Giyate. So it is the scripture of Paramahamsas. So with behavior, this stature one is able to reach, and Bhagavatam helps us in giving us the barometer of measurement of what is acceptable behavior and what is not acceptable behavior. And so it is said, yad abhyasai nirantaram. One should practice this nirantaram, always. And very nicely, Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur translates this as perseverance in practice. So we may fail once, we may fail twice, we may fail many, many times, but we don't give up. No, one day, devotional service will be established. One day, I'll be able to give up my vices. One day, I will redeem myself and make myself perfect. This is the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he says, Bodhyan Atman Atmanam. In this way, if one carries Bodhyan means also that one is able to console himself. It doesn't matter, I'm fallen. Like that person in the story. But I will not give up. Bodhyan Atman Atmanam Labate Bhaktim Uttamam. Then he will be able to get and achieve the perfection of that Uttama Bhakti, the perfection of devotional service. So this is not so that we become judgmental of others. This is so that we become judgmental of ourselves. At the same time, we should be aware of others and who we are listening to as well. Not to become judgmental. Judgmental means our consciousness focuses on others' bad qualities. Rather, when we see something good, then we should be appreciating it and learning and hearing from such personalities. And in this way, with reciprocal exchange of Shravanam and Kirtanam, then progressively, as devotees, we move forward together. So, other points important in this verse we see here mentioned is that Puranani sa itihasani. So Sut Goswami is well versed in Dharma Shastrani. Adhitani is well read And Srila Prabhupada in the purport explains that only reading is not enough. So from reading, one actually cannot understand. One actually needs to hear. And we see Sud Goswami has heard this. So this process, Srila Prabhupada explains here, and explaining is more important than reading them. So we may, our Guru Maharaj used to call studying Srimad Bhagavatam. We don't study Srimad Bhagavatam. We actually, we don't read Srimad Bhagavatam. We actually study Srimad Bhagavatam. And that too in association of devotees. Because in association of devotees, Shravanam and Kirtanam is there. So when one devotee is speaking and we are hearing, that's Shravanam. And when other devotee is speaking, we are hearing, for the other devotee, it's Kirtanam. So one who does Shravanam and one who does Kirtanam, they reinforce each other. So only one who has properly grasped transcendental knowledge from right source by submissive hearing can properly explain the subject matter. So these points are very important, the last line. Our Guru Maharaj emphasized that usually in Prabhupada's purports, the first line and the large line, he called them punch lines. That is the conclusion of what Prabhupada is saying. So we should pay particular attention to what has been said. So only one who has properly grasped the transcendental knowledge from the right source. So right source is important, and the best source is Prabhupada. And we see, because Prabhupada has spoken this Bhagavatam, he used to speak it on his dictaphone, and those who have listened to it, read it, their lives have changed. So the proof is in the pudding. So hearing from the right source, and that hearing has to be submissive hearing. Submissive hearing means that we accept what the authority is saying, even though we may not be able to follow everything. Very nicely, I think in 3rd chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, Prabhupada, explains in the purport that at the start, one may not be able to follow everything in devotional service, all the injunctions of devotional service. However, as long as one is not resentful to the instructions, he has hope. As long as we are not resenting, sometimes some instructions are given, we are not up to the mark to follow it. So some people may say, this is false because I can't follow it. It cannot be true. That is not submissive attitude. That is challenging attitude. However, if we take the attitude, yes, whatever he's saying is right, correct, but I'm not able to follow it. But I'll try to follow it. So that is being not resentful. And another thing, submissive means that we may not be able to understand everything Bhagavatam says, everything the spiritual master says. So we don't challenge the spiritual master. Instead, we put the questions in submissive mood that, oh, Srila Gurudev, I'm dull-headed. I can't understand this. Would you be kind enough to explain it to me as to how I can apply this in my life? So relevant questions given by the right candidate and the relevant questions answered by the bona fide representative, that results in perfection. And here we see that the rishis assemble, they are surrendered by service. Therefore, they are bona fide hearers. And Sudha Goswami is bona fide speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam because he's free from all vice, he's well versed in scriptures, Puranas, and he has learned them under the proper guidance, being submissive to his spiritual masters for progressive life. So this another word in the purport here, in the translation here, Dharma Shastrani. And Prabhupada translates nicely, scriptures giving right direction to progressive life. So this word progressive is very important. We shouldn't be like Italian tanks. Italian tanks has 4 gears going backwards and 1 gear going forward. So our progress in devotional service should be towards the upward trajectory, not that we keep going behind. So there will be some steps backwards at times. One day we may miss Mangalarti, but then the next 6 days we should rise to the occasion. Not that one day we attend Mangalarti and next 6 days we lie in bed. So this is called progressive. So every day we should be asking ourselves, am I progressing in devotional life? Any questions on this verse?
So, Prabhu, the last point which you made, it was related to 2.16, where Krishna says, Tadvidhi pradipatena pariprashnena sevaya upidekshanti te jnanam jnana tattva darshina. So that enforces over here. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. So that is from Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter. That one should save the spiritual master and make inquiries. Yes, Radhapriya Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I just want to ask, you said reading, when we read from iPad or computer, or if we read from book, is there any difference? Or we should read from book or just from phone and other stuff?
Nice question. My personal preference is reading from book is more effective. It's more respectful, I think. And Srila Prabhupada has, written printed books. So electronic formats, as per time and circumstances, when we are searching for some verses, we can't find it. It's best for that. But I think the mood, is much better if we have book Bhagavatam with us. Although, absolutely there is no difference. But somehow the other, when we look at the book, the consciousness is a bit different. There is no tendency to go anywhere else when the book is in hand. But if in the internet is open, the advertisements may come, other distractions are there. So, I prefer book personally.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we can move to the next verse. So what I'll do, I'll just recite it and we'll look at it. Yani Veda Vidam Sreshto Bhagavan Badarayanaha Anye Chamunaya Sutta Paravara Vido Viduhu. Yani, all this, Veda Vidam, scholars of the Vedas, Sreshtaha, senior most, Bhagavan, incarnation of Godhead, Badarayanaha, Vyasadeva, Anye, others, Cha, and Munayaha, the sages, Suta, O Suta Goswami, Paravara Vidaha, amongst the learned scholars, one who is conversant with physical and metaphysical knowledge, Viduhu, one who knows. Translation, being the eldest of learned Vedantis, O Suta Goswami, you are acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of Godhead, and you also know other sages who are fully versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge. Purport. Srimad Bhagavatam is a natural commentation on Brahma Sutra or Badarayani Vedanta Sutra. It is called natural because Vyasadeva is the author of both the Vedanta Sutras and Srimad Bhagavatam, or the essence of all Vedic literatures. Besides Vyasadeva, there are other sages who are the authors of 6 different philosophical systems, namely Gautama, Kanada, Kapila, Patanjali, Jaimini, and Ashtavakra. Theism is explained completely in Vedanta Sutra, whereas in other systems of philosophical speculation, practically no mention is given to the ultimate cause of all causes. One can sit on the Vyasasana only after being conversant in all systems of philosophy, so that one can present fully the theistic views of the Bhagavatam in defiance of all other systems. Srila Sudha Goswami was proper teacher, and therefore the sages of Naimisharanya elevated him to the Vyasa Asana. Srila Vyasadeva is designated herein as the personality of Godhead because he is the authorized, empowered incarnation. So we hear that Sudha Goswami here is addressed as Veda Vidam Sreshtaha, that he is the senior most. So senior most Sreshtaha, it means senior most in knowledge and advancement. So there is seniority in age, which is called Jeshtaha. And then there is seniority in piety, which is called Punya, Punya Sreshta. And then there is seniority in spirituality, which is called Adhyatma Sreshta. So Sudha Goswami is not only advanced in age, he's not only Jeshta, but he's also advanced in spiritual knowledge. Therefore, he's addressed here as Sreshta. So when Jeshta and Sreshta both are there, then we should be listening to them. When there is Sreshta, but not Jeshta, meaning one who is young and advanced in spiritual realization, but not advanced in age, the age becomes the secondary factor. The primary factor is that one is advanced in spiritual realization. So we say Shukadeva Goswami, he is 16-year-old, and in assembly of thousands of sages, even Vyasadeva, his own father and author of Srimad Bhagavatam, being there, still unanimously everyone realized, looking at the symptom of the 16-year-old boy, that he is the most realized Bhagavata in the assembly. Therefore, although being a very young Sisuhu, 16-year-old, he was regarded as Sreshta, as the senior most. So we should not distinguish with age. Someone younger than us in age may be more advanced in devotional service. And so with all due respect and humility, we should be humble enough to submit to such persons. We learn this from here. And further address is given to Sudha Goswami here, that he is Paravara Vidaha. Amongst the learned scholars, he is most conversant with physical and metaphysical knowledge. So he knows everything, basically. All subject matters he can explain very nicely. Srila Prabhupada, we see mentioned the 6 philosophical systems. And as Kali Yuga progresses, our sense of knowledge will diminish. However, Srimad Bhagavatam that Prabhupada has presented forms the basis of our knowledge. And as long as we are acquainted with Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavatam, then we are safe. Any questions or comments on this verse? No? Is it okay? We'll move to the next verse.
Yes.
Vettam tvam somya tat sarvam tatvatastad anugrahat bruho snigdhasya shishyasya guruvo goyam apyuta. Vetta, you are well conversant. Tvam, your honor. Saumya, one who is pure and simple. Tat, those, sarvam, all, tatvataha, in fact, tat, there, anugrahat, by favor of, bruhu, will tell, snigdhasya, of one who is submissive, shishyasya, of the disciple, guravaha, the spiritual masters, guhyam, secret, api uta, endowed with. Translation. And because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with all favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore, you can tell us all that you have scientifically learned from them. Last week we looked that studying of Srimad Bhagavatam, Rupa Goswami gives the methodology. And that methodology is Srimad Bhagavatam Arthanam Asvado Rasikaisaha. So Srimad Bhagavatam Arthanam. Arthanam, we looked, means the meanings of the words. Asvado, we should be able to taste or drink the nectar of the meaning of the words. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. It's full of nectar. Rupa Goswami mentions this, and this is the methodology. And he says that Rasika Isaha, those who have similar taste or know the mellows of devotional service, in their association, Sajatiya Ashaya, their desire should be endowed with Sajatiya, similar. So, Prabhupada in one paper, I think it's 3:17:29, if I'm correct, mentions that friendship should be cemented between devotees of same demeanor and understanding. What is the same demeanor and understanding? That the devotees are attached to hearing the pastimes of Krishna from Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada uses this word swajati. Such devotees, he says, are swajati, persons of the same caste. Now swajati, jati we know means caste, swa means same. So devotees, due to their demeanor of attraction to Krishna Katha, attraction to Srimad Bhagavatam, are regarded as swajati. We are of the same caste. I remember Narayani Mataji was here, and I had shared this verse with her, which gave this definition of swajati that Prabhupada gives. Because she was explaining such a wonderful description of Srimad Bhagavatam, and she was explaining how association of devotees who like hearing and speaking Srimad Bhagavatam is so important, that friendship should be cemented. So I showed her this paper, and then she said, actually, when I had met your Guru Maharaj, and your Guru Maharaj said to me at that time, oh, we are swajati. And at that time, I did not understand what that meant. Swajati means same caste. And so she was wondering, how can we be of same caste? I am American. You are old-bodied Indian gentlemen. And so I did not understand. But after looking at this paper, I understand that that means that we are same because our underlying interest is in Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing of Krishna's pastime. So this word to word, swajatiya, it is said, Srimad Bhagavatam Arthanam Asvado Rasikai Saha Sajatiya Ashaye. So when our desires with the people with same demeanor and understanding discussions is had, then our spiritual desires become perfect. So here we see the word to word, this word here is guhyam, and Prabhupada translates it as secret. Now, if you notice in the translation, that word is not used. So as Prabhupada would say, this is scrutinizingly study Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes Prabhupada gives a clue in the word to word, which enhances the meaning of the verse, and it enhances the verse itself to establish us or allow us to taste it. So we can understand here that the significant word, firstly, for Sud Goswami addressed is Vettaha, that he is very well conversant. As previously we looked at Dharma Shastrani, Puranani, Sa Itihasa. All three he knows: Dharma Shastras, Puranas, Itihasas. And at the same time, however, he is Saumya, one who is pure and simple. Or Saumya also means gentle. It's a nice word. One devotee here is named Saumya, or the gentle one, the one who is simple. So usually one who becomes conversant with subject matter, there is a risk that he may become proud. Kunti Bharani says, Janma Ishwarya Shvata Shribhi Edamana Madapuna Naivar Harti Avidhatum Vai Twam Akinchana Gocharam. That Janma, good birth, good parentage, Shruta, good learning, someone who is a professor, doctor, or even Noah of Bhagavatam, such person, Janma Ishwarya Shruta, Aishwarya means good, opulent life, very famous. Shribhir, Shribhir means wealth. They have a lot of wealth. All this can give rise to pride. And that pride has serious consequences, because Krishna does not even tolerate the pride of gopis, our Guru Maharaj said. When gopis felt that, oh, I'm very special, Krishna is dancing with me in the rasa dance, then Krishna disappeared even from there. So Krishna doesn't tolerate the pride of gopis, then how would he tolerate our pride, which is actually nothing? We don't know anything. But little bit here and there, we think we know so much. For a devotee, it is said that conquering the 6 enemies are not very difficult. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Matsar. The lust, anger, greed, bewilderment, pride, and envy. A devotee can overcome this, no problems. However, it is said that when the devotee conquers this, then 2 dacoits, these are Man and Pratishta. Man means desire for honor and desire for respect. These actually trouble the devotee. And especially one who is a speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam or speaker of Vedas, they get a lot of name, fame, and honor because they are at the forefront. So it is very difficult for a person who is getting so much honor to digest all this. If one is not humble enough, if one is not sincere enough, if one is not Saumya, as the word used here, then they can't take the credit. Someone, oh, you spoke nicely, Prabhu. Oh, then Prabhu becomes full of pride. I become full of pride. You say you spoke nicely, Prabhu. But instead, one recognizes his own frailties, that no, I'm just trying. I'm still not there. Whatever I've spoken has been given by my spiritual masters, by Prabhupada, other devotees. I'm simply a servant. So this is a demeanor of being humble, simple, and gentle. We see in Srimad Bhagavatam later episode that when Durvasa Muni, he caused offense to Amrish Maharaj. There, Lord Narayana speaks and he says, Tapo vidya cha vipranam nishreyasa kare vibho. Certainly, for a Brahmana, austerity, tapa, and learning vidya are very auspicious for upliftment, nishreya. So certainly, austerity is important, learning is important. But when acquired by person who are not gentle, durvinitasya, or an upstart, such austerity and learning are most dangerous. So unless a person is gentle, learning will be used as a means to achieve their wicked ends. And it's compared in Niti Shastra as a serpent who has money. Money means a gem or a jewel on its head. So Chanakya Pandita says, an evil man should be avoided even though he may be decorated with great knowledge. He is just like a sarpaha, a venomous serpent adorned with manina, jewel on his head. If such a snake is not feared, bhayankaraha, is such a snake not to be feared? He's asking, a rhetorical question. So we should fear, so in a nutshell, we shouldn't become impressed by persons just by their speech. The conduct is actually more important. As we said, Bhagavatam means behavior. And here we see that Sutta Goswami's not only speech, he's learned, but he's at the same time Saumya, he's gentle. The example here, Pratikul example used is Durvasa Muni. Because although Durvasa Muni had so much siddhi, he could travel even to Vaikuntha Loka by his will. And he had so much tapasya, so much learning he had, but still he was not gentle. So, one thing my Guru Maharaj said, that when we sit on the Vyasasana, we should not go in ego trip. We should be gentle, and with mercy to audience, we should be speaking, that the audience become devotee. That should be the only criteria. The other criteria is for that we glorify the Lord. And the third criteria, this is for my purification. And the mercy towards the audience, this is very important. So Saumya, Vetta, Tvam Saumya Tat Sarvam, Tatvatas Tat Anugraha. So when these qualities are there, then Tat Anugrahat, then we can get the favors. This word is also very important, Anugrahat. We get the favor. And what is that favor? That favor is that Bruha Snigdhasya Sishyasya Guru Guyam Apiyuta. That the spiritual masters, they give us the secret, Guyam. So this word is used here, Guyam. Devotional service or the devotional scriptures are confidential. Just by reading, we cannot know the meaning. However, if the spiritual master is pleased with our behavior, our submission, and our gentle, simple, and kind behavior and demeanor, then they give us the Guyam, the confidential knowledge. And with that confidential knowledge and blessings, then when the devotee is able to speak, then that has potency and that has effectiveness. So in the translation, Prabhupada says, therefore you can tell all that you have scientifically learned from them. So it's rather a science than some feeble stories. So in the last line, he says, the sages of Naimisharanya were confident that Srila Sud Goswami was bona fide. Therefore, they were anxious to hear from him. So these three verses, they glorify the quality of Sud Goswami. And as submissive disciples, we should also work towards acquiring these qualities, not artificially, not by learning, but by more so by our conduct. So it's 10 past 9. So do we have any questions on the above subject matter? So nice to see you all. I'm seeing Arvindini Mataji after a very, very long time. Hare Krishna Mataji. Any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I would like to ask a question on the subject when you mentioned that we should read the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we should understand that sometimes we get overwhelmed that when we listen to Bhagavatam, we see ourselves, it's so beautiful that we would like to just go into the Bhagavatam only. And then when we read the verse of Bhagavad Gita, then I personally think that, I should go deep into it and I should understand more into that. At the same time, chanting is also important, that, when we do 16 rounds of chanting and then taking out time. So how if you could suggest that how a devotee who would like to advance in the spiritual journey can plan his day, and how much time or how he should do that. First, he should do the chanting, then read the verses of Bhagavad Gita, and then learn about Bhagavatam. How the devotee should plan his day and devote how much time he or she should devote on that one.
Yes, very nice question, Mataji. Prabhupada has already set the program for us. So Mangal Arati, is the first thing in the morning, and as Grahastas, it may be difficult to follow the temple timing or temple program. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, that flexibility is given, that according to the timing one should do. So our Guru Maharaj sometimes used to say to Grahastas that, okay, you do your Mangal Arati at 5 o'clock or 5:30. Especially young children are there. But one thing he emphasized, that do it as a family unit. So of course, children may wake up at that time, but there's nothing stopping us from waking up earlier than that, 3:30, 4 o'clock, 4:30. So while we're waiting for the children, then we can do our chanting, our rounds at that time. So that flexibility is there. So 16 rounds is very important. And Mangal Arati also doesn't have to be, like full on as opulent as the temple. It can be just simple. Our Guru Maharaj said, just simple, get the kartals out, and you can just even sing. Even that is enough. And some people can only do dhupa and flowers. Even that is enough. But more important is imbibing the mood of what Mangal Arati means, that this is now auspicious time. Mangala means auspicious. It will bring auspiciousness into our lives. So even just doing it is important. And then reading of Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning is emphasized. But as Grahastas, like sometimes it may be difficult. So anytime during the day, I remember I used to read, 20 minutes every day, half an hour every day. But then I used to carry Bhagavatam with me always. So at work time, at lunchtime, I used to, read for 15, 20 minutes, go out for a walk. And sometimes when the work is not so busy, then steal time here and there to read it. You have to steal time. And then Bhagavad Gita in the evening. That way is recommended. So intelligently we have to use that. So the word mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam is that yatha kalam. We best know what our grasta situation is, and accordingly get that time out. But certainly we should get time out to do these activities. That is the whole purpose. And how we'll be able to do it if we live simply, if our lifestyle is simple. If our lifestyle is too complicated, we are just running here and there and exhausting our valuable vitality. Too much friend circles, or even so many like devotees circle. But when we get together with devotees, it's just a social gathering. It's not discussion of Krishna's pastime. Even that is prajalpa, So we should be aware that the lifestyle should be progressive. Devotee association means speaking about Bhagavan. Bhakta Sangha means Bhagavan Sangha. But sometimes, we take externalities to be important. That we'll gather with devotee, we'll have a Sangha. But it's, it can become mundane if Krishna is not the center. So devotee association is very important, but the quality of that association, therefore every time we have to, it is said, do manan. Manan means contemplation. That, okay, is this right or not? Like I did this, we did not discuss Krishna Katha. Was this right or not? Okay, next time perhaps I should initiate. Good, Prabhu, good Mataji, you came to our home. Can we read some Bhagavatam, before having Prasadam? So that will change the whole atmosphere and the whole spectrum of things. So everything should be Krishnized, Prabhupada says. And in that way, we'll see that we are able to get time. One of the biggest complaints, we have is that there is no time, but we will be able to get time if we are able to be very vigilant about our own Krishna consciousness, that no, this is my prime duty and I have to do it. And as time goes on, like as we said, like simple living, that means expenses are less. Then expenses are less, and then we can come to vanaprastha or retirement age earlier on. As I was mentioning the other time, at the moment I'm working for a company where I have to do some analysis regarding mortality. So the average deceased age in Australia is, the median deceased age in Australia is 78. So that's the benchmark we can see. Although scriptures say one lives up to 100, who lives up to 100 years? So if you look at the statistics, it's 78. Actually, it's 83, but it is 78 for males and 86 for females. So females live slightly longer as per statistics. So what age are we now, and we take that median age and say, this is how much we have left. So still so many things to be done, children to be educated, to be settled, to be married, and then how much time, so there should come a time where the amount of time we spend for Bhagavatam, chanting and devotional service, by the time we reach 50, it should be more, greater portion of our life. In Grahastha life, when still responsibilities are there, then, it will be less in terms of time. But it doesn't mean it should be less in terms of eagerness. The eagerness should be as much as, in Vanaprastha life, in young life. Eagerness, because this eagerness will save us actually. If one is eager, one will find time. If one is not eager, just use excuse, oh, I'm a grahastha, I can't do much, it's my responsibility. Then they won't find time, because time will imperceptibly take them over. Very nicely, Vidura says to Dhritarashtra, evam graheshu saktana, we become attached to grahas. Pramattanam ihayat, we become mad after that. And then what happens? Aktyakramat avignataha, insurmountable, avignata, imperceptible time, they overtake us. And before we know it, oh, like I'm already 50, I'm already 60, 70, I still haven't done much in devotional service. So at the moment, in our session of Srimad Bhagavatam, we are reading pastimes of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, and we are discussing that Devahuti, although she had association of such an elevated husband as Kardama Muni, but she regrets that I did not make full utilization of his association. She was an ideal wife, expertly followed, Pativrata Dharma, but she was not eager, or she did not put preference towards Jaiva Dharma, the Dharma of her soul. So she is then lamenting at the end. And so she's requesting Kardama Muni that you can't just leave like that. You have to give me protection from fear. And that protection from fear means devotional service or guidance. So this Jaiva Dharma, the Dharma of the soul, should be given the first and the foremost priority. All other dharmas will follow nicely if this is first and foremost. However, having said that, when we are in certain ashram, then in the name of Jaiva Dharma, we cannot neglect our Grahastha Dharma. Our Grahastha Dharma becomes Jaiva Dharma when the object of satisfaction is Krishna. Like Prabhupada used to say, when Mataji asked Prabhupada, ever since I've had the son, I can't do deity worship properly. I want to do deity worship. So Prabhupada said, for you, your child worship is your deity worship. Why? Bringing the child up in Krishna consciousness. That is deity worship. And as we grow older as well, sometimes, tail end of our lives, we won't be able to do deity worship. But our deity worship that we have done in young age, how much we have internalized it. We were hearing yesterday morning, actually, Indrajumnam Swami and Radhanath Swami, they went, to the one festival, Harinam festival. And so they were staying in the same room, arrangement was made. And he took out his Shaligram Shilas in Titumna Maharaj and placed it. And he made space for Radhanath Swami's deities. And he asked Radhanath Swami that, oh Maharaj, where are your deities? You can place them here. And smilingly, Radhanath Swami took out his japa beads from his bag and he said, these are my deities. And so that's how, then Indradumna got awestruck, like such a deep realization. So as we advance our attachment for Bhagavatam, holy names, this should be increasing. This will be our deities, actually, that we should, the Divina we should. So there is this nice verse in Bhagavatam, and I'll end with that, Mataji, that this verse is spoken by Vritasur, and he says that Ajata Paksha Iva Mataram Kaka. No, the Ajata means the wings of the Paksha, the bird, baby bird, have not been formed. So it waits in the nest for the mother bird to come and bring food. So Ajata Paksha Iva Mataram Kaka Stanyam Yatha Vatsatara Shudartha. So how the Vatsa or the calf eagerly waits to be released so that she can run to the mother cow and get the milk. Priyam. So similarly, how a beloved wife waits for the husband who has gone to the travels for work. And then the last line, Vritasura says, that, "O Lotus Eye Lord, similarly, I also yearn for you." So our Guru Maharaj gave this nice analogy that our duties we do perfectly, efficiently, honestly. And just like when we finish it, when we do it efficiently, so we'll finish it quickly, our duties, then we'll have time. So how when a calf, if you have looked or have experienced, when a calf is released, it straight away runs to the mother, doesn't go anywhere else, mother cow. And if you try to stop, the calf will overforce you. So similarly, for us, as soon as we finish our responsibilities of work, of grahastha, like the calf runs towards the mother cow, we should, without any hindrance or obstacles, run towards Bhagavatam, run towards chanting, run towards our deities.
Where this verse from, Prabhu? Ajata
This,
Paksha?
this verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto. I'll send the reference. I can't remember offhand.
Okay. No problem.
Prabhuji 6:11:26.
Chapter 11, 26. 24 to 28 or 24 to 26, I think.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
And then in the last line, in the last verse, he says, Momo tamashloka janeshu satyam samsara chakre brahmata swakarmidhi tvanmayayatma aj tvanmayayatma
Dargehe.
Dargeheshu. Thank you, Mataji. So he says that my desire is that Mamottama Shloka Janeshu Sakya. I want friendship with those devotees who are describing your glories of Bhagavatam. At the moment, samsara chakre brahmata swakarmiti. At the moment, I am wandering in this cycle of birth and death, samsara chakre. And because of your illusory energy, on maya atma dargaheshu, I am attached to my wife, my children, and samsara. However, asakta chittas nanunata bhuya. However, I no longer desire to be attached to them.
Wow.
So this is the desire in mode of detachment, devotional service in mode of detachment. So although we are attached, we should desire to become detached, not for the sake of detachment, but for the sake of being attached to Krishna. And so in this mode, if we do devotional service with earnesty and eagerness, then we'll see, we'll have time. We'll have time. Krishna will give us more time. Krishna is time himself. Kalosmi, Krishna says. And so the time will be stretched. If we want time, and if we have time, we spend it for Krishna. Krishna will then give us more time. Now, we may require 8 hours of sleep, but Krishna will fulfill that 8 hours of sleep in 5 hours. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so
Okay.
much, Prabhuji. It's very nicely explained. Yeah. We'll try, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. One last question, 2 minutes we have got left. Okay. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Hare Krishna. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Gaur
Jai
Bhakta
Krishna.
ki
Thank
jai.
you.
Jai.
His Grace Viraj Krishna Prabhu ki.
Jai.
Gaur Bhakta ki jai.
Hare
Jai.
Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining.
Hare
I'll
Krishna,
be sending the
Prabhuji.
recording of the session sometime during the day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.